Good afternoon, friends. Appreciate you taking the time today. We'll just wait a couple of more minutes because I'm sure there'll be some late entrants, so we'll just give them some time. Right? It's at 12 p.m., so maybe we'll start around 12:04 or so, 12:01, maybe another 2 to 3 minutes. Thank you so much for joining in today. Yeah, we have a good session lined up about maybe 30-40 minutes and then some Q&A. Let's just wait for a couple of minutes for the others to join in, and then we'll get started. For the people who just hopped in, we are just waiting a couple of more minutes for the others to join in, and we should get started soon. Yes, not to worry, we will finish well before time. Right, I try to be very punctual in my webinars. It may only extend in case there is a Q&A which goes on, which I would be happy to facilitate even longer than 1 p.m. if required. So yeah, just another minute or two and then we'll start. All right, all right, we'll start. Right. Thank you so much for hanging on. Uh, uh, Totally appreciate you taking the time to come today. Right. Yeah. So let me first introduce myself. I am Sunil Uttam, the co-founder at one of the co-founders at Miti. We've created a product called Vaultastic. Right. And this webinar is about compliance. Now, question often comes to mind. In fact, in our invitation also, yesterday I sent out a personal invitation to a lot of our contacts, in which I wrote that compliance is not just for the regulated entities, right? It is sometimes mistakenly understood to be that compliance means REs, regulated entities like the banks, etc. However, what we have seen in our conversations is compliance applies to every vertical, right? Because see, there are three things you're complying with, right? Possibly one is an external regulator, a regulator like a RBI or a SEBI. Second, law, right? GDPR, DPDPA, right? Third, internal policies. You have some policies, some guidelines through which you're working. It could be your employee handbook, it could be your HR policy, it could be your data and IT policy. But there are policies every organization has, written or unwritten, and you need to comply with those policies, right? Fourth, and the fourth one, which is, it may appear to be the least, but I think it's the most important, is where you have to comply with customer policies. So when customers give you a job or a project, right, they expect you to follow certain guidelines, and hence compliance comes into play. Now, our discussion today is about data related compliance. So everything that every regulator, internal, external, customer, expects from you as a RE, so to say, right, is what we will cover today from a data perspective. That will be our objective in today's discussion, right? Now, we are talking about M365 mainly because it's the most popular workplace productivity tool, and which handles a lot of data types, and hence it covers it. I mean, protecting data from M365 is like a critical path to achieving compliance, and hence we have said M365 plus flexible archiving. But the discussion today holds good for any tool you're using. It doesn't have to be an M365. It can be Google Workspace. It could be anything of your any homegrown solutions as well. Important thing is, from a compliance perspective, what do you need to do with data? Let us cover that in today's discussion. So we'll start now. Introductions done. Once more, a big thank you for joining in. We will finish in about 35-40 minutes. We'll open the floor for Q&A after that, and then we'll see how it goes. I always believe in unlimited Q&A. Until you tire out, I will not. Right. So, a quick few reminders. Number one doesn't apply because I have not put any polls in today's webinar. I just thought we'll focus on the content, right? However, what I would like you to do is, as you listen to me and read the slides, you can ask your questions via the question panel right away. Don't wait till the end because you may forget. Right? There's a small survey in the end. Do take it, and don't have to take notes. We will send you some snippets from the webinar. Right? So we will be talking about wall testing in a small part of the webinar. However, the major part is devoted to how a flexible archiving, whichever, okay, will support your compliance initiative. Let's talk about that. First, there are a few things which I want to bring to your attention, right? Before we reach that part about the solution, let's also discuss where things can go wrong in a workplace productivity tool like Microsoft or Google or anything which you're using, even Salesforce or Amazon Workmail, any cloud platform or an on-prem tool that you're using, what can go wrong? We will go through that a little. These are real stories inspired from our customers or news. You can consider this as breaking news. This actually happened with us where a CEO of a manufacturing company deleted email accidentally, and about 2 or 3 months later, he recalled he wanted it. He remembered he deleted it by mistake. However, that could not be recovered from the recycle bin, and there was mayhem. Right? So this company deployed our solution. They're using it for the last 4 or 5 years now, right, as a backup because this cannot repeat. The CEO was kind of unforgiving on the IT team. So such situations do happen. This is just one such story, right? Second, this is a real story of our customer, a small finance bank, which was sued for 1 crore for negligence. The negligence which was claimed was that a notification which was to be received by the customer was not received, and hence the customer did some wrong decisions of investment, and hence they lost 1 crore, and hence they sued the bank for 1 crore. However, the bank was able to leverage the archive and pull out that notification, which is a 3-year-old notification, and demonstrate in the court of law that it was actually sent, right? Maybe the customer deleted it, missed it, it went to spam, all those, right? So this is another powerful story where a flexible archive saved the bank about 1 crore of rupees. Very happy customer. Right? This happened last year, worth repeating. Even if I've spoken about it in my earlier webinars and you attended it, you've seen this news, worth repeating, that things can go wrong in any cloud. Hence, there are consultants like Gartner who have written very beautiful papers whose title, like one paper, the title is "Take Responsibility for the Backup of Your Cloud Data." Now, it sounds counterintuitive that I moved from on-prem to cloud, okay, I, as in the customer or the company, okay, with the intention that the cloud will give me reliability, scalability, performance, security, all true, absolutely all true. But still, if data is deleted, right, that can not, and if it cannot be recovered, nobody can be held responsible except yourself, right? So even if such a situation is to happen, which is very rare, I mean, this is like the rarest of rare situations. But what if you are caught in the crossfire? This is the case of an errant employee while leaving the company in Singapore. He was so upset because he was fired. He deleted a few VMs, not few, almost 180 virtual machines, and walked away. That's it. He thought it's he's kind of got his revenge, so to say. But the karma caught up with him. He's now being tried in the court of law. But from the company perspective, there was a major loss of almost, $918,000 Singapore dollars. But it was possible to recover because of a backup, right? So exiting employee, deleting data is one of the scenarios. And this research shows that 70% CIOs experience data loss when employees leave. This is Osterman Research, a global company. You will find this research if you just do a Google, right? And they go on record saying that an automated archival and backup will mitigate this risk. Now that was about continuity. All those stories I shared with you was about business continuity, where data loss can be a challenge, right? But let's talk about compliance. Now, if you look at this was in 2023. Banks have filed suits against 36,150 NPA accounts to recover so much of money, right? Now, to fight these cases, these agencies and the people who are manning this have to have information available, which the regulator themselves are saying that keep all these records. So in case of a problem, you are ready to be you're ready to demonstrate that you are clean, right? Ransomware, very less spoken about. It's the most silent of malwares, right? It doesn't show up too much in conversations because it is about reputation. People are afraid to speak about it, right? It can damage reputation, trust, and customer acquisition. So ransomware is huge. Banks are the most attacked, largest attacked, and the second largest is law firms. In March 25, 15 banks were sued for non-compliance. Not sued, penalized, right? And of course, this we should not forget. Since the topic was Microsoft 365, I had to bring this up. Again, I'm saying this is rare. I am not for one moment saying that these clouds are bad. We ourselves use Amazon Cloud as our backbone, and we understand that there can be challenges. It is, after all, a tech setup, right? A very well managed, well developed, no doubt. Okay, these are some of the best clouds we have out there, but things can still go wrong, and we as customers have to be ready, right? This is the message I want to give you. From a continuity and a compliance perspective, it doesn't matter what you're using: SendGrid, Salesforce, Slack, Microsoft, Google, any cloud that you use can give you trouble in two ways: a human error and a backend error, right? So let's move on. There's a high cost of data management, as we can see. You see in all that, so I'll not dwell on this slide too much. And there's also a productivity loss besides the cost, right? And there's a high cost of non-compliance. This is an important point. Please note that this is again not only for REs. It applies for IT companies. It applies for any company which is complying with either internal or external policies. One is you may face a fine. Typically, this is an external regulator. Two, supervisory action and restrictions. Again, mostly an external regulator like a customer or a RE, a regulator. Sorry, a regulator. Okay. Suspension or cancellation of licenses, authorizations. This again happens mostly from a regulator, and we've seen these. You can just go and look up Google, and you will see a lot of news related to how RBI and SEBI are ruthlessly penalizing organizations, even large banks like HDFC, from further movement of certain departments unless they become compliant, right? Prosecution and legal action can happen from customers as well as in case there is some internal policy not followed, right? Naming and shaming, public disclosure, this impacts reputation and trust, right? And governance related actions typically come from if you're doing a certification, or if you are to be like an ISO 27001 or a SOC 2 compliant company, and you don't follow those guidelines carefully enough and the auditor catches them, then there will be punitive action related to that, right? So there's a high cost of non-compliance. Now let's look at what is it that compliance expects. This is all fine. I told you a story about continuity, I told you stories about compliance, and I'm sharing with you that compliance is very costly. But what is compliance? What do you mean by compliance, right? Now remember, this webinar and my discussion is related to data related compliance. It has nothing to do with any other form of compliance, right? Like a company policy or a employee compliance. None of that. We are talking about data, which by the way is a backbone of almost all compliance postures. So let's look at what the five expectations are from. If you look at the common message which has been given by the regulators, they're asking for five things. They want you to keep records. Now, when I say keep records, they're talking about keeping a copy of the records, because on the primary, the records may be deleted. You may put a retention, right? You may migrate solutions. A lot of things can happen, but there has to be a steady copy of all information assets which you have to preserve. This is the requirement of a common requirement of all regulators, including internal policies, right? That I must keep a copy of the record and information assets, right? And it has to be kept in a certain way. You can't just keep it in the kitchen or keep it in some local server and say I've kept it. If that data is destroyed, you are still under penalty. So you cannot give the excuse to the regulator that sorry, I kept the data but it's gone. So nobody's going to listen to you, right? So that doesn't work. I'll give you an example of my college. So I'm from the era in which we started with floppy disks, right? Uh, so we used to create our projects on floppy disks, take them home because there was no hard disk in the computer at that time, right? Like I finished my engineering in '89, so you can imagine how old that is, right? That's almost 30, 35 years old. Now, in those days, what we used to do was we used to create our projects and submissions on floppy disks, carry them to college and back in the bags, right? And when it was time for submission, the teachers would ask us to insert the floppy disk and show the program working. And we found a common excuse amongst people who did do their work is that the floppy got corrupt or the floppy was lost. So the teacher would say, okay, you have another week to figure it out, right? However, you can't do this today. If your data is lost, it's your responsibility, right? You cannot say, oh, it was on M365, but I lost it. So let me try and catch Microsoft. Let me raise a ticket or send a mail to Satya Nadella. It's not going to work, right? Second, so they want you to keep data in a way in which you can be sure it's there. Second, third is continuously communicate your policies and the adherence with stakeholders and customers. So a continuous communication has to be there with employees, top management, regulatory bodies, that my compliances are done. Let me share another example with you, right? Here, how this works with our US customers is that they have this policy of closing a compliance loop every Friday. They don't wait for a problem to occur. They proactively scan their information, right? Every Friday using queries. They will make e-discovery queries with a lot of keywords, sometimes even 1,000 keywords we have seen. And they will run it to see if they find any information which matches those keywords. If it does, then there is a potential compliance policy breach. For example, somebody has committed something which they should not, or somebody has leaked information, right? Whatever it is that your organization needs for compliance is scanned by them every Friday. Any anomalies detected are discussed on the same day and concluded before they go home for the weekend. This is how they do it, right? And they communicate this with the stakeholders, saying we found 10 violations, we figured out 5 are okay, 5 are to be taken to another level, blah 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 blah. So that is what we mean with the regulators and internal policy stakeholders will mean that when you please communicate frequently with us about your compliance posture. Fourth, if things go wrong, manage those incidents quickly and efficiently, right? Discuss with legal team, discuss with compliance team, discuss with top management, conclude, close, move ahead, right? And there should be an easy visibility of data. Right. Naturally, to do the previous, which is point 3 and 4, you will need visibility of data. So you can search and get it when you need it. If an auditor comes from outside and they want specific data, they will not wait for a month. They'll want to see it in a few minutes. Right. So this is what the regulator expects. And these are what we have studied. We studied these guys, MIT, Gartner, METI, Certain, and RBI, IRDAI, SEBI, and we found out that these 5 are the common elements which they want. Each of them has very specific guidelines to each of the 5 points, but we cannot discuss all that in this forum. It will be a very detailed discussion. Hence, I'm just going to give you this overview, right? Recommended framework, as you can see, right, which I spoke about, is keep the record, have them with encryption, disaster recovery, uh, in within the country boundaries, that is residency, like that many tick marks are there, right? It should be automated and scalable. You should be able to run compliance queries, and you should be able to do a audit supervision from a central point, right? Now, now comes the interesting part. So we saw that there are continuity and compliance challenges, as we saw in the news, right? We saw some 8 or 10 news items which show that the companies today, businesses today and these are all recent news, last 1 2 years, right, are facing these challenges, right? Then we discussed that what is compliance means. When you if you comply, what happens? You will have less of those challenges or zero, right? Now, but what is happening today in the businesses, and which is where now actually we are going to come to the actual content of the webinar, right? So the background is there are problems, there are recommended solutions to those problems by experts, not us. Everything I shared so far is an expert opinion. It's not a Mithi opinion. We subscribe to it, no doubt. But what are companies doing today that we should study now? These are the next few slides are absolutely important. If you are doing any of these, consider changing them because there are limitations which I'm going to share with you. We have taken a lot of pain to build out the next few slides because we have gone through all the conversations and actually identified that yes, banks are doing this, or manufacturing companies are doing this, and probably this is a better way. So I will share about 10 slides with you related to these problems, right? And the older methods which are not working. But a summary, if you're running a business today, you can be assured that 90% of your user data is unprotected, right? And I will tell you why. I'll come to that, right? You may be paying a lot of high cost because there is no cost optimization in the solutions you have deployed. Maybe native, maybe homegrown, maybe legacy, but you might be paying up to 70% more cost, right? Compliance has become so complex today and so demanding, right? And it gets stringent every day. You look up, let's say RBI, and find out how many new regulations they have added in the last 4 5 years. It's huge, right? And they get more and more innovative every day because their job is to protect the citizens' rights, right? So, and the companies can't keep up, the businesses cannot keep up. So they end up having a limited coverage and hence they keep undergoing these penalties. Okay. Most systems you may have deployed may not have that accessibility and agility. Let me give you an example here. We worked very closely with a pharma company, right? A very large pharma manufacturing company. Before they deployed our solution, they were actually keeping USB drives and tapes in a room, which were their data archive. And they were using our own email service, not even Microsoft at that time, right? But what happened then is, in case they got a compliance query, and they got four of them every year on average, someday three, sometimes five. Each query took about a month to respond, and not and 1 month of concentrated effort by about three people, right? Because they had to find the tapes and drives which carried the data, and the older the data, the more risky, because the tapes can get fungus and etc. etc. They would find it, hope and pray to God it was working, restore the data to a local device, then index it for discovery and hand it over to the auditor, who would search and pull out a small PST. Maybe they just wanted five emails, but this whole process took about a month. So this poor accessibility and agility is not acceptable, not anymore, right? And of course, life cycle management is another critical thing. All regulators in their regulatory guidelines are saying that when data becomes not very useful, or infrequently used, rarely used, and out of use, it should be kept in appropriate storage classes to conserve cost and improve the security. Like if I'm keeping out of use data in a NAS drive, which is accessible to the entire team, how is that secure? Right? So that is not acceptable. So life cycle management is another important thing. So this is a summary, but we will now get into the individual 10 problems which you may be facing. Maybe you don't face all 10, but you may be facing a few of them, and we've also documented why they are not suitable, and hence the title of the webinar, right? So if you are using a Microsoft or a Google or any such cloud, right, and maybe all or some of these 10 problems will apply to you, do look at it with an open mind and see if you can uh, you know fix those, and that will help your compliance posture. Very common. Just a second, I'm just going to have a little water. Excuse me for a minute. This is voted the highest in all our surveys, right? Most customers believe that a large mailbox or a large account space where they get for 30 GB, 50 GB, 1 terabyte drives, etc., is enough. It's so safe. What can go wrong? The challenge is, like I said, Google, Microsoft, and AWS may not collapse, which they can. I have shown you. But the bigger problem and the more common problem is accidental or malicious deletion of emails or files. Right? We've seen this with that Osterman research, and these are not recoverable after 30 days. So there's a 30-day window in which if you catch it, it's good. So if you are relying on a large account space to satisfy your compliance of keeping data long term, it's not working. It has a risk. You may lose data, and you may be held penalized in case if the auditor notices the data is missing, right? So this is the first point, a big problem which we see, right? The second one, I'm using the cloud, what can go wrong? Please note, okay, no plan, I'm repeating, no plan of O365 and Google comes with data protection, including E3, E5. No. And no, Exchange Online Archive and Legal Hold are not for data protection. We'll discuss them in the next few slides. So if you are using Microsoft and Google, you can check the documentation of their own of Microsoft and Google, and any other Salesforce or whoever. They will tell you that you should be responsible for taking your backups. Okay. In fact, Microsoft sells a backup tool separately, right? It's a backup tool, not an archive. So it will take a snapshot in time backup of your drive and all, and there's a charge separately, right? So please note that if you're just using that cloud, it is not enough. It is not enough for continuity, not enough for compliance. Both of them can create a risk for your business, right? And we've seen the risk. So this is the second point. Third point is a lot of customers, and see, this entire 10 points have come from discussions. We've scanned hundreds of conversations using our tools, AI tools also, and come up with these 10 common problems or objections, you can say, or kickbacks from the customer saying, hey, I am keeping them deactivated, I'm safe, all right? But there are two problems in this. The first is deactivated or unlicensed accounts may incur additional charge, if not now, at least in future. Let me give you an example. I spoke to one a financial services company, pretty big one. They have 3,000 employees. They keep close to 8,500 disabled, or those user accounts in a shared in that shared space of Microsoft 365. They call shared mailboxes or shared accounts. Okay, that's about 8,500 of them, totaling 22 terabytes. Now, you please tell me, why would Microsoft give you this 22 terabytes for free? They are not running a charity, right? So, if they're not charging you now, they will charge in future. You can be sure of that. We have seen enough policy changes happen in all cloud providers. So, deactivated and unlicensed account may incur additional charge. Number one. Number two, they are as such useless. If I want to search in them, the first thing I must do is activate them. For that, I must get a license first. Okay, so provision license, activate the account, and then wait for it to become searchable. That takes about a week. Standard discussions we've had is 5 to 7 days. This whole process may take, right? And especially if the account is large, it will take even longer. So finding former employee data from deactivated accounts can take 5 to 7 days and can be an expensive proposition. Fourth, we hear this a lot, and so far the first three are not helping you comply. See, we saw the five things which compliance needs. These three problems which we saw do not help you comply. In fact, they will reduce your compliance posture and can invite you up to a penalty. Fourth, I download and preserve data, very common. This is highly error prone. We've known customers who tell us that I do this weekly, but I miss sometimes. I may be ill, and I cannot outsource this to a team because it is a privacy issue. So I miss a week or two. And sometimes I'm very busy, I miss it because if you're downloading for 100 users, it will take you 2 days. It's a manual process. You have to go to each account, save a PST, save the drive files in a zip, and keep them somewhere. All this process is manual. So the first 2 points are it's error prone and high effort and time consuming. So there's a productivity impact plus a data loss possibility. Right? Even if you get all the data with all the effort, it is still risky because the data is prone to tampering and deletion at the point where you store it. So this method is very old, it's very archaic, and it has a lot of risk for the business. Why would you do it? It's a notional tick mark, right? Five, very common. I use legal hold to protect data. Now, are you going to put legal hold on all users? The legal hold was designed for a purpose. The purpose is that people who are undergoing some fraud investigation put legal hold on them so that if they delete data, we catch it, right? But if you want to protect data, you will have to put legal hold on everybody. Second thing is it's not a backup. Only deleted files or deleted contents or emails go into the legal hold bucket. So it fragments into two buckets, making search a challenge, right? Plus, it comes at an additional cost. It's quite expensive, making it unviable to purchase this add-on for all users. So legal hold to protect data can become an expensive proposition, and it is not a protection at all. It is not a protection. Okay, it keeps the deleted items, so you will have your primary and the legal hold. Then I also understood is if I need some very old data from a legal hold, you have to first make a request, and then they will bring it up in the search. It's a huge pain, plus it is a mixed up, everybody's deleted items go into one place, so also a privacy issue which admins can see. So this is not a good method for data protection. It should be used for what it is meant for, which is in case of investigation, mark a guy legal hold, pay for that add-on that time. right? This is there with everybody. Everybody is using Exchange Online Archive. It's okay. Use it because there is a purpose to it. It increases your inbox space. Microsoft inboxes cannot grow beyond 50 GB. So what they have done is they tell you to move older data into the archive and keep it. Move, not copy. Okay. So anything very old goes into the archive, which you can then retrieve. But remember, if you delete data, you won't find it in the archive. If you delete from the archive, you won't find it in the archive. So it's nothing but a larger inbox. Please do not confuse this to be a backup. It is not a backup. Even if you have 1 TB of space, it is not a backup. Second, it only supports email data. What about drive data? What about chat? What about SharePoint? These things are not covered, right? So an Exchange Online Archive, if you believe is helping you comply, wrong. Okay, absolutely wrong. Seven, I use I back up my data to a cloud store using backup tools. Now, what backup tools are and how they are different from archives is backups are snapshots in time. They will run once a day, take the data, full data, make a zip or whatever, and keep it. Okay, and they will do the same thing the next day. You cannot search in those very easily for one file, one document, one email, one chat. Not possible. So it's unsuitable for granular recovery, definitely unsuitable for compliance. Okay, because compliance, the biggest thing in compliance is audits and supervision. The auditor might come and say, now show me the data sent by X user to Y user in 2022. You will not be able to do that from a backup, right? So while this is required for system recovery, that is, if I lose my laptop or I lose my mobile or I lose my server, I will use a backup to restore to the last good state. But when you are looking at data as information and you want to find that one piece of information for an audit or an investigation or a legal case, you cannot do it from a backup. And also remember, backups are typically kept for 1 to 3 months, 1 year, and then the older ones are deleted. Because remember, it was for system recovery, it's not for long term retention. Compliance is about keeping data for 8 years, 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, 20 years. Impossible to do that with a backup, right? So if you feel a backup solution will help you comply, then again I would like to tell you, you should re-examine this, right? This is a very common problem we encounter, and this is happening primarily with email archiving solutions. There are a few companies who are giving unlimited storage, right? Now the first question to ask is, what about other data sources? Is email enough? No. Just keeping email content will not help you comply. Compliance is about keeping every data possible, all the records, right? So that's the first problem you may face in compliance. And second thing is unlimited storage. There is something missing there, right? Which company will charge you, right? Let's say 2,000 rupees a user a year or 3,000 rupees a user a year and tell you put unlimited storage. The first question to ask such a vendor is, okay, I have 5 TB per user. Can I upload that in that archive? Right? You will likely hear the answer no. If they say yes, then if you read the para below, it will show you that unlimited often comes with restrictions, upload throttles, speed throttles. Okay, they may limit or disallow historical data imports. Okay, imagine, yeah, I'm charging you 3,000 a year and I am keeping 5 TB of data per user. It may be hypothetical, but it can happen. The cost of the storage also will be much, much more than 3,000, even if it is cold store, right? So it doesn't make commercial sense. So people say unlimited storage, but please doubt it. Be skeptical about it. There is no free lunch in the world today, right? Everything comes at a cost. So most likely unlimited storage has to be examined, and the lines you have to read between the lines. Let me share with you. Microsoft had an unlimited storage for their Exchange Online archive. It is documented, you can find it. If you read carefully and go into the details, unlimited storage equals to auto expanding storage. So when required, they will expand. and that will add to your cost. Okay, so like I said, there is no free lunch, so there is no such thing as unlimited storage. Okay, it's a marketing proposition. I'm not even saying the word gimmick, I'm using the word proposition. It is to attract you there, but you as buyers must definitely look below the hood, right? Ninth, so there are just two more which I want to cover. If you are using this tool, you're journaling all emails to a single large mailbox. Many companies are doing this. It's called single box journaling. Again, it covers only email, it does not cover other data types. Second thing is, even now, if you go and read mailbox specifications of all the cloud tools, they're coming with throttles. You cannot push because it is meant for corporate use. So, as a corporate employee, even if I'm at a top position, I may receive 200 emails a day, but if I'm going to push 2000 into it, they will block it. So using it like an archive receiver is most likely not going to work because the throttle will make you lose data. So that is the first thing, right? Second thing is it is mixed. VIP users, normal users, all data is mixed. So when a admin searches, he is likely to read the CEO's email as well. This is a privacy nightmare and most VIP users don't like it, right? And the mailbox sooner or later will fill. Then you will download and keep it. Again, it has a risk of getting lost. So this method is notional. It just feels good, but it has no real value, right? Last, you might say, oh, I just invested in Microsoft. I just bought Google. I bought E3, E5. I don't have a budget for a archiving add-on, right? Well, let me share with you the costs of not having a budget are way higher, right? If you lose data, 40% businesses close down. It's a well-known statistic, right? Let me share with you. 2 weeks ago, there was a case in Bangalore about a grocery app where one ex-employee walked out and almost deleted all the data of the company. Imagine if they were not able to recover. Data company shut down, right? But it happened. So you don't want to be that statistic, right? We saw 25 15 companies were penalized for non-compliance. So this is a huge cost. One ransomware attack can cost $100,000. That is a ransom, right? 25% of the work week is wasted looking for information. So if your salary bill is, let's say, 10 lakhs, 2.5 lakh rupees is wasted looking for information, right? And we saw 69% CIOs fear information loss when employees leave. So many more statistics can be added, but this is a huge cost. So why not have a budget for something which will help you fix the compliance of your company, right, and avoid all these costs, right? Now the thing is how to do this. So what we propose is a central archive where your data will be stored centrally from all sources, right? Doesn't matter which one, we can handle all of them. We have connectors for almost all, and if any connector is missing, we will add it. So it's email sources, file sources, HR, and all those ticketing data, form data, anything that you bring to the table, chat data, we can archive it into the platform, right? So that all the problems we discussed, now you brought it all central, everything comes to one point, right? Now you search anything you need, audit happens, search, data lost, recover, new employee joins, give the old employee data, everything comes out of one single point, right? How it works is we have automation to capture different type of data from different data sources, keep it in our platform in a search ready state, so you can search and recover even one granular data point, right? And you can then enable all your use cases right up to data lifecycle management. This is how Altastic works. From a competitive posture, we rate very high on cost optimization and very high on utility. When I say utility, I'm saying the same platform can do multiple things. One is multiple data types, and it can handle continuity and compliance both. It's not just a backup, it goes way beyond. It's a continuous archive. So there's a high utility, and cost optimization comes from our strategies. All right. I'll not dwell on these. I'll run through these. All right, because I want to get to the Q&A. I've covered the gist of it, but very quickly we can take historical data, PST files, EML files. We can take live data files, provide access control, role-based access, basically discovery, storage management, which means retention period, governance, tiering, right? And collaborative workspace for sharing documents and emails, right? The platform is provides an uptime of 99.9, 11 nines of durability, 7-layer security and industry compliance, because we're dealing with demanding customers, right? 90% reduction in TAT means 10 times faster search, right? And compliant with all the regulatory guidelines. Our security processes are audited, okay, and compliant with ISO guidelines, SOC 2 guidelines, Type 2, and AWS guidelines, all three, right? So we have a very tight security process which covers all these 5 stages. We are running on the AWS cloud, which is one of the best clouds out there, which has got its own so many certifications, including METI compliance, right? The big part of our platform is it is not a user limit based. So we do not, our billing model is not based on users, it is based on cumulative consumption of data. Because we believe that all data users are not equal. We have some light users, some heavy users, but if you put them together, that will give you the real usage. And we go for that. That is an optimized usage. It's called the right sizing. Right? You right size your solution for actual consumption and not for okay, so much rupees per user you use or you don't. So one interesting statistics which I keep sharing is a 50 GB mailbox, you can consume it in a month depending on the type of user or account you're using, or a lifetime, because your 50 GB means it can go on for maybe 100 years. You believe it or not, many mailboxes grow at just 0.5 GB a year or even less. Right? It's vertical specific, but 90% of users in an organization are at that level of usage. Very few are using receiving 200 and sending 200 emails a day, okay, or documents, creating documents. So charging by the user is unfair, is what we believe. So we believe we should go with the storage based plans, and of course the other flexibilities I've mentioned on the slide. Right? So our customers, when you look from outside in, they see 60% saving, they see a 30% lower TCO over on-prem, they see a 2.5x ROI. We've demonstrated all of these with numbers, all right? 2.5x ROI for one NBFC, we saved 100,000 US dollars a year. Okay, uh, so if you compare that to our bill, it's a 2.5x ROI. Right, quick response on incidents or discovery, right? Full visibility, availability of all information, however old, 10-year-old, 20-year-old, you just log in and find it. Simple, right? So these are the benefits, and many more are experienced by our customers. These are some case studies. I'm just going to run through them. This is a bank, a 15,000 employee bank. The reason they took it is for compliance with RBI guidelines, right? So it becomes an add-on. We are storing more than 50 TB of data for them. And of course, they are protected against cyber attacks, and audits and all are taken care of, right? This is an NBFC which saved 100,000 US dollars annually just by keeping former employee data for 1,000 employees. That's it. Okay, very large company. Okay, very, very large, 10,000 or 15,000 plus employees. We are storing 60 TB data for them, little more than 60 TB, and saving them over 1,000 K USD, which is about 85 lakhs is a saving. Right? This is a law firm. Main reason they took it was for ransomware resilience. It's a defense. The CIO told me that according to them, that the archiving is the best defense against ransomware, because ransomware can come through internal leakages or a human mishap, right? But if my data is backed up or archived, then I have no worries. I can just recover it, because the copy is safe, right? These are some of our other compliance products which actually we bundle. So Ideal and Legacy Flow are bundled with Vaultastic. They provide the case management and the migration tools. Sky Connect is an email service which typically we give as a hybrid to large businesses, right? And Clearstream is a communication. I mean, it's a notification platform. It's designed to send high volume notifications, transactional, right? OTPs and stuff like that. We've sold over or nearly 400 to 400 customers enterprise grade. Some logos you can see. We cover banking, financial, insurance brokers, manufacturing, professional services, IT companies. And professional service includes law firms, CA firms, those kind of things. So we have logos in all, very good references, 18 plus countries we serve, right? Highly rated on the review platforms and very secure, right? I wanted to share one thing before I open the thing to Q&A, right? This is a slide from another webinar, but I thought I should give it to you. So naturally, I'm hoping that I have inclined you towards choosing an EIA platform for your workplace productivity tool to help you comply. EIA is Enterprise Information Archive. But now when you're going to buy an EIA platform, watch for these five things. Okay, this is my last slide, guys. And then we'll open the deck to Q&A. I have time, about almost 10 minutes. Right? This I'll cover in a minute, so I'll not spend too much time. Any platform that you buy, look for one, it should be highly secure and it should have data protection. Right? First, very critical thing, look for a certified vendor, look for multi-layered security, and look for immutable type of proof storage. Two, it should already be complying with the guidelines. It should not become another headache for you to take a tool and then tick mark, right? The tool should give you that out of the box compliance to regulatory guidelines, long-term retention, right, and data lifecycle management. You don't want to buy another headache. So look for these two. Third, look for agility and flexibility, which means you should cover multiple data sources. Email will not be enough. You will soon run into a problem if you don't archive your documents, SharePoint, chats, and your records, other records, backup of other applications. You need to have a flexible tool, right? You need a tool which will give you the cost optimization and scale. Don't look for a tool which is all hot store. Everything is searchable. You will never need everything on demand searchable, something which is 10 years old. Okay, if a query comes for data which is 10, 15 years old, they will wait. So you should have always look for a solution which gives you the tiering and the cost optimization for older data and lifecycle management. So the compression and keeping in hot cold architecture, that kind of thing is a must, right? It should be future proof. It should be AI enabled or at least getting AI enabled. There should be support for new data sources and can integrate with deeper analytics and integration. This is five big things, 15 small things, and one bonus checklist, right? Look for use case suitability. Here, you should match the capability with your requirement. Former employee protection, business continuity, supervision, long-term retention, compliance policies, legal readiness. So you make a list. You say, this is my RFP. If your solution, if I'm going to buy, make sure you help me do these 10 jobs, which is, let's example of a job to be done is recover data if an employee comes and complains they've deleted something by mistake, or an employee leaves, new employee joins, give them the data, right? So these are your jobs to be done. Make sure the new solution you're buying matches that, and only then go and make that investment. I hope this has been helpful. Don't worry, we will send this to you as a, in a follow-up email on the for the webinar. I will now stop here. I'm going to shift to the platform and look for questions asked by, I'm going to the question panel. I'm going to look for questions asked by people, right? Let me see what questions have been asked. Please put your questions if you have not put, right? I'm just going to go through the questions. So there's one question here. What are the cost advantages of using Vaultastic compared to maintaining an on-premise archiving solution, right? Let me see, sorry. I'm just switching back here so I can talk to you, right? So on-premise typically, the challenge with on-premise is a TCO. If I'm going to have an on-premise archive, then I must have its disaster recovery. I must have redundancy. I must have a team to manage it. If you put all the costs together, it will be much more expensive than buying a solution like Vaultastic. So if you want to reduce cost, go for a cloud-based archive, which is fully managed, a SaaS. A SaaS can help you reduce cost, right? Yes, it will give you the OpEx advantage also. So you don't have to pay anything upfront. Okay. This is the first question. I hope I've answered your question. Huh. How does Voltastic ensure data residency and sovereignty for organizations that must keep their data within specific geographic regions? So we are very careful about this because we're talking about compliance and adherence to laws. Then data residency is a big part, right? So all Indian customers must keep data within India, DPDPA. If you're not keeping within India, you better have a good reason for it. So what we do is, depending on the customer's location, we have regional deployments on the AWS cloud, and we ensure that that customer's data remains in that region or in that country, right? So that is how we ensure data residency for the organizations who use our service. What makes Voltastic different from traditional backup solutions? So we discussed this. Backups are typically, backups are point in time, but I'll just repeat it, of course. So they will take data once a day, let's say, right? And data which comes between those two backups and is deleted is lost for good. You will never get it back. And the backups only have one purpose, which is system recovery. They are not meant for uh, granular recovery of one document, one file. Plus, backups are kept only for a month or two, 3 months, or a year max. Whereas compliance expects you to keep data for 15 years, 10 years, 12 years. How will you keep backups for so long? And if you keep also, you cannot search. I gave you an example of the pharma company where it took a month to recover data for an audit query. And if you get four such audit queries, 4 months in a year are gone, right? Plus the team time. So it doesn't really, that's the difference between traditional backup and this. The challenge, where it comes when organizations look at a backup and say, this is going to help me comply. No, backup is an IT investment. Okay, it is meant to make IT easier. That in case laptop is stolen, I can get back to yesterday's backup and get started on a new laptop. But it is not meant for compliance. Okay, so get that difference clear, that a backup is not going to be a compliance tool. Okay. What mechanism does Voltastic use to ensure quick data recovery and retrieval when needed for audits or compliance? So, Voltastic, there are three parts to it, right? The first part is data ingestion. So, there's an automatic data ingestion from various data sources, which we take and we index and keep the data in a safe place. So, data ingestion, data storage with compression, dedupe, and across tiers, and then data discovery and recovery. There's a third part. So, you get an e-discovery or a search console. You can look for your one piece of data or the full vault or whatever, and just press a button to recover it, right? We also support bulk data recovery using a physical device if data size exceeds maybe, let's say, 10 terabytes in case. So we are ready for that also. So our whole platform is designed for automatic data ingestion, data management, storage management, and data retrieval with a discovery panel. Right. Um, how easy it is to migrate data from mailboxes slash PST files, etc., into the archive? Very easy because we have inbuilt tools which are part of the platform. You have to just configure a job and run it, and the PST can be made into a searchable vault, right? Data from existing mailboxes can be migrated. It's absolutely very easy. It's a very, very powerful migration tool which we have integrated into the platform. This is legacy flow, which I spoke about. Hmm. Questions, guys? Oh, we are at the end of the time. I'll just take one more question. There are a few, probably I'll try to answer them over email, right? But I don't want to take more time than 1 p.m. I will take one more question. What is, this is a very techie kind of a question, but I'll answer it anyways. What is the recovery time objective and the recovery point objective that Voltastic offers? So I think I didn't mention it, but Voltastic comes with an inbuilt disaster recovery site, which is for high availability. So we have a RPO of near zero because your data is written to two data centers simultaneously. And in case of a major outage on one, we can recover from the other. and the RTO may be 1 to 2 hours, right? Okay, we are at the end of time. There are still a few more questions, but I will, to respect time. Okay, here's one more. Let me take one more. One sec. I would like to know the procedure for taking an archive on premise via SFTP after a year. Okay. What is the process to perform the archive? Will there be any licensing requirement or additional cost? What I understood, I think you're saying is that data which is archived on Vaultastic, right? Anything older than 1 year, we would like to push it back into your on-prem setup. I think that is what you're asking, right? And assuming that, I will answer that in that form. So we do this for several customers who have put a timeline of keeping data in the cloud. Typically, it is 5 to 7 years, because 1 year is a little less, right? Because you might want to find something older, then you might have a challenge. Right? At least you should keep that the data required for your archive. So if you're a bank, for example, which I think you are, then you will need to keep data for about 8 years. So let's say, to answer your question, we keep 8 years worth of data on Voltastic, searchable, blah blah blah. Anything older than 8 years, we can push to your FTP server, which is nothing but a robust server with a good storage, NAS or SAN, which is on-prem, right? The the additional cost involved will be the export cost, right? Data exported from the cloud is something you will have to bear, okay, which is not much, but it is a, and it will be dependent on the actual usage. So there is no, this again, to optimize your cost, whatever is the data exported in that year, let's say 100 GB or 200 GB is exported, then that much is what you will have to pay for. So which will be some 10-15,000 rupees for the year. All right. So I'm just giving you some rough ballpark. But to answer your question, we can do this. We have done it, right? And it is, you can define the period, right, to the FTP. I hope I've answered. There will be no licensing requirement here. Only the export cost is will be have to be borne, right? But I would urge you, this is fine. We can do this very comfortably, right? So data, recent data is on the cloud, older data is on-prem. If you ever need to even look at the older data, you can push it back into the cloud. We have option for that also. So there are various ways to do this, but definitely any organization today, especially BFSI or a regulated entity, must have an archive and add-on. We cannot rely on only the primary data source. There are likely to be damages, there are likely to be data loss, which we have to consider. Right? Yes, I can wait a few more minutes. The people who have, who, for whom time is, they may drop off. But if, I'll just wait another minute to see if there are any other questions coming from the team, because I said unlimited Q&A. I am okay to go on, but I'm also concerned that I should not take away too much of your time. Let me, maybe we can look at one more question. Okay, how easy or how long does it set to set up and deploy wall testing within an organization? To be very honest, not more than 45 minutes. Okay, the, the account setup integration done within 45 minutes to 1 hour, one call. After that, you can migrate data at your pace. This could take you as long as you want. If we will give you the tools, we'll train you on it, right? You can ask our team for support at any point in time, and we will be happy to support you, right? And you can continue doing the migration at your pace. So, but your account will be ready and integrated within an hour. And then you can call out to our team and set up meetings as many as you want during the follow up, right? So yes, it's not a difficult thing to set it up at all. What level of customer support does Voltastic offer, and how responsive is the support team? So we to whether we sell the product through a partner, or whether we sell it direct, or whether we sell it through a marketplace, all our customers are supported directly by us, the OEM, right? A 24/7 support desk, which is responsive on phone as well as on tickets, right? We have it, the response times, etc., defined in our SLA, and our customers are very happy. This is evident from the churn rate. Like if you look at our customer churn rate is less than 1%. So that kind of indicates that our support is good, our product is good. In fact, we don't get many tickets at all. Voltastic tickets are very few. You can count them on the fingertips. They're typically tickets on how to do this, how to do that. Give me more training. Give me a document on this, or give me your ISO certification. Those kind of tickets is what we get more than, because problems and all are not going to come to you at all. It's a fully managed, fully monitored, knock monitored service, which we take care of the uptime and the service delivery completely for you. Okay, I think I'll stop here. I want to thank all of you for taking time and also, intruding into your lunchtime. I wish all of you have a very good day ahead, right, and the rest of the month also. Right. I will see you hopefully in the next webinar. So for your information, we conduct these webinars every month, where we try to bring new insights and new ideas to the customers so they can use them in their own practices. You don't have to buy Voltastic or any of our services. Our whole purpose is to educate you and to show you some new direction, also give you some new ideas. And that is what we are here for, right? So I hope to see you in the next one. I respect your time that you have spent with me. I appreciate that, and I hope that it has been worthwhile and you have been able to get some value from this in the last 1 hour, right? Please do fill the survey on the way out, and we don't worry, we will send some snippets to you. The key points from this webinar we will send out as slides. Maybe we'll make a slide deck and send it to you. Thank you again once more, and God bless. Bye bye.